Our most popular report, it contains 15, let's say, assets, marketing assets that we create based on the book. We analyze the book and we create these 15 assets that all the authors need to market their book. We create this in 10 to 15 minutes. So, of those 15 assets, we have things like a back of the book summary, a synopsis, genres. We have detailed target audience, which breaks down their target audience into segments. We have 10 comparative titles. We have KDP categories. We have a press release. We have ad copy, and it just goes on. So yeah, we have these assets in that marketing report, and we added some primers for all of these sections so that authors. We also tell authors like for each of these assets where and how you could use it with examples, with suggestions to what you can change on it to use it in a different way, for example. And we also add now a marketing plan. So it's a four-phase marketing plan. So depending where you are as an author in your marketing journey, you can step in right into one of these phases, from very easy on publishing your book on KDP to trying out social media ads and how we should do that.
Welcome to the Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing podcast. There has never been a better time for writers. More information, options, and opportunities are available to you, but navigating these requires insight. Join Mark Leslie Lefebvre as he draws upon more than a quarter century of experience as a writer, a bookseller, and a trusted book industry consultant to explore and reflect on the writing and publishing landscape to help you make informed choices on your writer journey.
Hello, Reflectives, and welcome to episode 444 of the Stark Reflections podcast. This is your host, Mark Leslie Lefebvre. In today's episode, I have an interview with Florin Bulgarov, who is the co-founder of Manuscript Report. We get into so many details, and there's a bit of a walkthrough, so there will also be a YouTube video that shows a bit of that walkthrough. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to include some screenshots over at starkreflections.ca so you can see some examples of the kinds of reports that you can get. You can even download some examples from public domain books, very similar to what Florin uses in the video. He uses an Oscar Wilde book, but I think you can get one for To Kill a Mockingbird. And there's another modern classic text where you can check that out. But that's coming up later in this episode. First, let's hear a word from this episode's sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Manuscript Report. Didn't we just hear about them? Okay, so since the interview here is with Florin from Manuscript Report, and we get into a lot of detail about it, I'm just going to suffice it to say two things here. You should consider Manuscript Report the Swiss Army knife for marketing assets. And there's a new promo code, which I'm going to also repeat later. Now, I've used Mark 5 in previous episodes for you to save $5 off. And that code still works. But with the new pricing structure, which I'll share after this interview in my reflection, you can use the code MARK10, MARK10, to get 10% off. Now, this new code works much better on the two higher pricing tiers, but as I said, I'll get into that later on. But that's it for the ad read portion. Let's roll the bumper and get into some comments from recent episodes. In terms of comments over at starkreflections.ca for episode 442 with Becca Syme, Edwin Downward said, "I'd like to take my comment for this one in a different direction and address sticking with it. When I first heard Becca years ago, I didn't enjoy her voice or the way she presented herself, and yet, all this time later, with both of us still here and still doing our thing, I now find I'm finding value from what she has to say I didn't get in those early days. This speaks to both personal growth on both our parts and reminds me there is potentially great value in giving someone you once wrote off another chance." Well, I have to say, good on you, Edwin. It's so funny. I was just talking to a friend this morning about growth and learning, and being flexible enough to take in new information and change your mind. I mean, that's a precious gift that we can have. But also the fact that you initially thought, I don't really like what she has to say, but you still listen to her. That, Edwin, is powerful indeed. Yeah, first impression you had, not really my cup of tea, but then you listen to her still, which again shows your openness, and I think the world needs more of that openness. So thank you for setting that awesome example for the rest of us. And also, it's kind of funny, I just watched Becca being interviewed on Draft to Digital's Self-Publishing Insiders on Thursday, November 13th. Jim Azevedo had interviewed her there. And I saw several comments on YouTube from folks who saw her Dear Writer, You Need to Quit series of books and completely misinterpreted that, which is very understandable because you got to admit, those titles are very clickbaity. Dear Writer, You Need to Quit. Like, come on, don't tell me that. But anyways, they thought that it was her telling them to quit. But what she was telling them was to quit the premise or quit the false premises that lead them to doing the wrong things, to following the wrong paths that aren't right for them. Not to quit writing or to give up, but to quit those premises that get in their way. And I suspect that's a common misconception. But like I said, it's clickbaity. He's like, what the heck? Why are you telling me to quit? So it's funny that just earlier today I saw that several authors had mentioned, wow, I'd always avoided her because I thought she was negative. Anyways, but honestly, Becca's one of the most positive people. And I remember, I mean, in both the interview a couple of weeks back, or I guess it was just last week, and even when I had her on 8 or 9 months ago, talking to Becca is like speaking to a therapist. It's always been really powerful for me. Okay, so for episode 443, this is the live stream YouTube video where I spoke with Maddie Dalrymple and Angelique Fons about short fiction strategies. Maya said, "This was great. I'm homesick, and this made my day." Thanks, Maya. Glad to help. It was really fun to do that live chat and get that episode out immediately. I do plan on doing more of those things as well, just to give more to this community. But there's so much great content, so little time. I look at my backlog of interviews that I still have to push out, and I go, no! So I might have to try and sneak in more than one episode a week just to get caught up, because it feels like these interviews, including the one in today's episode, this was done in August, and I was like, oh no, so many things have changed. But the other thing, Maya, I hope you're feeling better. But speaking of being homesick, I remember when I was a kid and was sick from school, I sometimes got to lay on the couch in the living room and drink flat ginger ale and have Campbell's chicken soup and watch The Price is Right and a bunch of soap operas with my mom and my baba. So thank you for that. Your comment reminded me of that and kind of made me homesick and missing my mom and missing my baba. But those were interesting and fun days indeed. And last comment, over at Patreon, Stanley B. Trice left a wonderful comment mentioning several different episodes. And here it is. Hi, Mark. I've been meaning to leave comments, so here they are. Maybe Stanley batch listens and is batch commenting, so this is cool. Back to the comment. I enjoyed your podcast a while back where it was you and your wife by a campfire. It was a relaxing conversation. When are you moving out west? So I'll respond to that. Thank you, Stanley. It was so much fun. I mean, it's just Liz and I, and Liz is such an incredibly intelligent and passionate and creative person. I admire and respect her so much. So I love, yes, she is the voice that opens and closes the podcast, but I love having a chance to chat with her about her creativity as well. And it was a lot of fun, even if the noise was a little weird with the campfire. But we are not going to be moving out west quite yet. The kids were not as excited as we were about the thought of moving out west. And also Liz would have had to quit her job. There's no way of transferring from Ontario to British Columbia and be a principal. So she'd have to start from scratch. And it's just, that wouldn't make, even though we could live on my income, it wouldn't make sense to forego the incredibly powerful pension she'll get in another 5.5 years. And so, our granddaughter will be 6 then, and an opportunity then. And it is a beautiful part of the country. So We'll probably be moving in another 5 or 6 years, so it's not as immediate as we thought it was going to be. Okay, second part of that comment. Stanley says, I didn't think your bumper was too loud, but I listened to you at 1.75 speed, so the bumper is brief. And Stanley's mentioning I had received a comment from somebody that the bumpers were loud, so I did. I have been playing with it and adjusting it, but yeah, I usually listen at 1.5 speed to most podcasts. So Stanley, I am impressed with you because I tend to speak really fast, and so I wonder how much more like a chipmunk I sound. Okay, next, third part of the comment. That was a strong podcast with Mallory Cooper and insightful that I enjoyed. Thank you so much, Stanley. I love talking to Mal, and it was great to be able to do those 2 back-to-back episodes with Mal as well, sharing what Mal's really passionate about in terms of history and science and all that stuff, but then also the more personal aspect as well, which I thought was kind of fun. And then the next one is, thanks for your Patreon podcast about your book signing. I have a book signing coming up. I've had several over the years at this local bookstore. Your discussion was encouraging and matches my experience. I enjoy talking to other readers much more than the selling. And thank you, Stanley. I did mention, for that, I think what I did is I said, here's an article I shared. Here's the audio for you guys, patrons. Again, trying to make it a bit easier for patrons to access content in different formats as well. Benefit of being a patron, I suppose. Okay, the next comment is, if you bring back your Hangout podcasts, I'll try to attend this time. Thank you. I think I will. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to try and figure this out for a reasonable time, and I'm going to change the times up so people from different time zones, etc., can also enjoy them, or jobs and they can't attend at certain times of the day as well. Next comment, and I've lost track of the numbers. I listened to your recent podcast, 441, about Studio Moonfall Store in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I don't quite understand the proposal. I put my books as consignment in local bookstores, and I would do the same with Donovan's bookstore. I certainly wouldn't want you to spend money to do this. Well, Donovan takes my books on consignment if I send them. And so, yes, the answer is yes. Donovan will take your books. What he does is he's kind of marketing your books and selling the books and stuff like that, and he's not actually taking them on consignment to pay you. This is a place where you would give 8 copies of the book to Donovan, and then you get some additional bonus because he's going to be sharing them, and it's the thrill of seeing your book in a bookstore. And Stanley, I am offering this as an offer, like, as I said, for patrons to fill out the form. And again, I'm more than happy. This is part of supporting the community and giving back to the people who give to me as well. And a great opportunity to see your books in a bookstore on my dime rather than on your dime. But I'll include a link in the show notes to where you can check the things out on his website. And finally, Stanley says, thanks for your podcast. I hope you have fun at Author Nation. Thank you, Stanley. Always great to hear from you. And thanks so much for your support. That's it for the comments. I'm going to roll a bumper and take a bit of a breath. I would like to say a huge shout out and thank you. I was just posting a comment from Stanley over from Patreon, but I also got some other comments from Patreon as well. Jeff Elkins was one of the folks who did say, hey, I'd love to participate if you do those Hangouts again, and it's always great. Just an excuse to talk to Jeff would be cool too. But so based on comments from other folks via Patreon as well, I'll probably do more of those Hangouts, and I'll have to plan that out in the future, see where I can take that. But I do want to say a huge shout out and thank you to those who support this podcast, patreon.com/Stark Reflections, as well as my coffee buddies over at buymeacoffee.com/Mark Leslie. Your support does mean a lot to me, and I do like to reshare that some of those funds back into the community as well. Yes, I use them to help compensate for the extra work I put into the podcast, but I think it's always fun knowing that your funds are going to support other authors, because I really do strongly believe in the community of authors, and that's one of the reasons I love doing this podcast, is this incredible community, and I get to chat with some amazing people, and listeners get to benefit from the learning that I'm having while I do those chats, and it's just been a great experience. So, off to personal updates. So, I have to say, Author Nation was absolutely phenomenal. It is exactly what I thought it could have been, and it's only the second official year. So, Author Nation is a conference in Vegas that happens in November every year, and it was born out of there was originally a conference that Craig Martell and Michael Anderle had created based on the 20 books to 50K theory or movement of the idea that Michael first discovered based on how well his one science fiction book was doing. He thought, if I had 19 more books that made me this much money, I would make 50K a year, and then my wife and I could retire at a beach in Cabo where it was more affordable. And that was part of the movement, and the conference began. It was relatively small, and it began to grow over the years, and then it got to be just a little bit too much for the original organization, and with Craig's health declining, etc., it was time to step back for them so they could focus more on their writing. Even though they both gave a lot to the writing community, it was great. Joe and Suze Solari took this conference over, renamed the whole thing. It became a whole new thing called Author Nation. It takes place around the same time in Vegas. And they even added a Reader Nation. So on the final day, since they have all these authors together, and I think there were 1,200 authors who registered this year to go, on the last day, they said, well, since we have all these authors in one place, let's do a Reader Day where we invite readers to come in. And honestly, in previous years, the Reader Nation, yes, it might have been good because you had a lot of authors there, but it was just a bunch of authors selling to one another. And I just found that not pathetic. I don't mean to be negative, but I found it pathetic. I found it frustrating. And there were authors who sold a crap ton of books there, which is great because writers do also read, but I'm not a big fan of writers selling to other writers. I'm a big fan of writers selling to readers, and there's a significant difference in a reader community. So this year, they had James Patterson booked as a keynote speaker, and he was going to be there for a portion of the morning to sign books. And he's a big deal. And that was obviously a draw. This was the first year, and they also moved it from the depths of the Horseshoe, which used to be Bally's, which is really impossible to find and get to a place that was a lot more accessible in the Paris, which is connected to the Horseshoe. And it was right there. Like, the convention center was right there. It was actually such a big lineup of so many people who came that the resort people from Paris were frustrated and had to get them to move the line because it was blocking traffic through the casino, or walking from casino to casino, which I think was amazing. Now, James Patterson did end up having COVID. He was unable to attend in person, which, was a bit disappointing, but kudos to Suze and Joe and everyone involved in Author Nation. They scrambled and they got things together. They brought in another author who was at the conference, a huge successful author, and interviewed her. But they also did a brief 20-minute video chat with James Patterson that was broadcast live right there in the room. J.D. Barker interviewed Patterson, and the two had a really good rapport. They've written together, they know each other, and I just loved seeing Patterson. So he was under the weather, so he was trying not to cough and do too much stuff and blow his nose too many times and all the things, because he was under the weather. But they had such a good rapport, and he was so down to earth, and he was funny, and he was like, didn't give a crap, and was very it was just, I really enjoyed him. I've actually never read any of Patterson's books, so just that impression of him and the interaction he had with JD made me want to read his books. And that's a reminder to us as authors out in the world, is that when you're entertaining and interesting, that may actually be the thing. James Patterson never had to say, hey, everyone go and read my books. Just him being interesting and fun, that's what made me want to read his books. So even though he had to sadly cancel that event, they still did some things with the books where they're going to use book plates where people are still going to get a signed book, even though they didn't get a chance to meet him. It was incredibly powerful. And As a speaker at this conference, I was given a free table on author for Reader Nation. And I wasn't sure because in the previous years I was like, oh, there's going to be a whole bunch of whatever. I know like a few years ago, Becca Syme brought 100 books and just gave them away and signed them. And I know J.D. Barker does that. He just gives the books away, doesn't charge for them. So I was thinking about doing that, and I thought, wow, the lugging stuff, the weight of the books and all that, and checking the extra bag and all whatever, it'd just be too much of a hassle. So I thought I did some cards. I brought probably about 20 of each of my Canadian Werewolf series, free downloads from BookFunnel, and I signed them. They're like postcard size from Vistaprint, and so the cover and everything, I signed them for readers. And then I even had a free giveaway, the Pizza Man, audio and ebook, and I did, because I knew there would also be writers there, I had the 7 P's of Publishing Success in audio and ebook as well, just to give away. Thought, why not just do a giveaway and just kind of measure that? And honestly, it was so busy. I know that next year I'm going to be bringing some books as well, maybe to give away, maybe to sell. I haven't figured that out yet, but it was so powerful. The conference itself for writers was incredible. I got to MC one of the rooms, so I was kind of like not forced to. I had to be in a certain room, the Platinum Room, in the mornings. So I was introducing each of those speakers. So I didn't really get a chance to go to the other rooms, but I know I'll be able to watch them online somewhere because they record everything, which is great. But the content, I took so many notes. I learned so many things. I got to hang out with some really cool folks. The Wide for the Win board, and Shel Honecker, who is taking the Wide for the Win under her wing, under Indie Author Magazine, which is going to be a great stewardship. And so myself and the fellow board members from Wide for the Win are in the process of working all those details out, which is great. Got to hang out with Joe Penn, which was great. Got to see so many other amazing folks and spend time with them and learn so much. Before I left, I purchased personally with my own credit card, purchased a membership for next year, because I know I'm returning. Whether or not I'm going as a Drafted Digital representative, I'm going to be going to this conference. It is a good one. It is the biggest indie author event that takes place here in North America, and I love what Joe and Suze and the entire team have done. So a fantastic week. I've come back with a list of things to do, and here's the thing: when you come back from a conference, you're like, "Oh, here are the 50 things I need to do." Well, guess what? I'm only going to do 3 or 4 of them, but I have the list, and I can work on that. Speaking of lists, I've been making some slow headway on my Ghost Stories of the Great Lake book. I've been doing morning writing sprints. I returned to them after taking a break when I was in Vegas with my good friend Julie Strauss, and we're doing our morning sprints together, which is great. It's just 2 20-minute sprints. So we book an hour, we have a little bit of gossip and chatter and blah, 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 catch up and stuff, and then we do 2 20-minute sprints, and we're making some headway, and that accountability is really important to me. Speaking of accountability, I also had, and it's not related to writing, but it is related to my health and well-being. I recognize that I have put on so much weight. I'm about 40 to 50 pounds above where I should be. Probably 50 or 60 pounds above my ideal weight, but I'm thinking just losing 40 pounds, for example, will put me in a really good bracket. Would bring me back down to about 210, 220. So I had conversations with several different people about the value of what it is when you lose that extra weight. And most of what I'm carrying is around my gut. But one of the most productive ones was some conversations with Jim Azevedo, my colleague from Drafted Digital. And he's going to hold me accountable to trying to eat more whole foods, more natural foods, more green fruits and vegetables. I've even reduced my beer intake, and I'm doing the simple thing. And this is the other thing that was a common theme is it doesn't matter how much more I work out or I go for an extra long run. That bacon cheeseburger and the pitcher of beer, there's no way I'm going to work out those calories unless I run a marathon. And I don't have time. I don't have the 6 hours, 4.5 hours or whatever to run a marathon. Oh, probably closer to 6 since I'd be walking most of the time. But the key comes down to a simple thing. Try to eat more natural foods, less processed foods, and count your calories. And so with my Fitbit app, I've been doing something simple. I've just been monitoring on the app. I've been logging every single thing I shove into my mouth. Instead of just indiscriminately shoving food in my mouth, I've been doing that. And that's been a really good thing. And even since I got back, I will only have a beer at night if I have room in my budget to still be under. Because I want to consistently be, even if it's 1 or 2 calorie points under, I want to be 1 or 2 points under every day rather than over, so that I can on average lose some weight. And I've already lost 2 pounds. And I know it's not a lot, but I'm feeling better about myself. I know I'm not yet feeling the weight come off, but my blood pressure is already starting to get a little bit better because I'm also been going to bed early. Because the other thing I've been trying to do is not have food after 7 p.m. and also eat my breakfast a little bit later. It just allows my body a chance to normalize without having to shove food in it all the time. And so I'm going to be following that, and I'm feeling better about myself. I'm feeling better in general. I already didn't have an energy issue, but I already have more energy, and I'm feeling really good about that. So I'm holding myself accountable, and Jim's my accountability partner for that. Julie's my accountability partner for getting writing done. Jim's my accountability partner for health. And I'm kind of sharing that with you because in a way I'm confessing to you this is my goal, and I want to make sure I meet that goal. And again, that is it for my very extensive, very long personal update. Now let's roll the bumper, and we'll get into this interview with Florin. Now, I think I mentioned this, but I think it's important to mention we did this interview back in August, and a few things have changed in terms of Manuscript Report and how it works. The pricing structure's changed a little bit, but most of the gist of it, I was going to actually cut some of the parts out and go, well, that's changed, but it's just changed a little bit based on some feedback. So the pricing and structure has changed more in line with feedback that they've been given from the numerous authors they've worked with. But I'll talk about what those changes are after the interview and in my post-interview reflection. And like I said, that's coming up right after this bumper. Hey, Florin, welcome to the Stark Reflections podcast.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for inviting me. Excited for this.
Yeah, it's great to chat with you again, and great to chat with you in a way that my listeners can benefit from. So, okay, before we get into Manuscript Report and the services and stuff that you provide, who is Florin? Like, let's tell me, who is this gentleman, and where did he come from, and what's he up to? Like, why is he creating these great tools for writers?
Never an easy question, but
Yeah,
I'll try to give a response. I'm originally from Romania. I'm based in Paris these days. I worked a lot with AI. I went to the US. I had a PhD in AI, and I worked a lot with natural language processing all the way before large language models were a thing. So, forwarding 10 years when large language models came and my thesis was done, it looked like large language models have deprecated most of my PhD thesis. And I was like, okay, I mean, this is obviously a great tool. I'm curious about it. I want to learn more. So I started looking into it. And it happened that one of the applications, someone reached out for me from the publishing industry to do something with large language models on books. And I was like, yes, sure. I would love to see them in action. I would love to see how they behave on large texts, and let's try to build something on this. So yeah, that's how Manuscript Report was built. That's also a bit of my history in the
wow.
field. So I can tell you more about the Manuscript Report origins and how we pivoted from what it was to what it is.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to. I had no idea that you were a PhD in AI. That's amazing.
Okay.
Should I have started? So, welcome, doctor.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Um,
so I mean, I've been playing with Manuscript Report for, oh God, 6 months now, I think, if not more. And I've seen it evolve, but I'm sure that I haven't even seen half of the
yeah.
evolution, right?
Yeah. So we started initially as an assessment tool for publishers. We know they have like huge slush piles that they never check because it's
Right.
impossible for humans to check that many books. So we thought, okay, we have large language models. Let's create a tool that assesses that slash file, and maybe we can flag those manuscripts that are, uh, worthy of a second human review
Wow.
or more
Okay.
targeted for that publisher or for what they are currently focusing on. And we built it. So, it had some of the elements that you see in the reports right now, from which we'll talk about later, but it also did some grading based on various, criteria on how good the manuscript was. It turned out that publishers back then didn't trust AI as much. So that didn't really, I mean, we did have some very good conversations, but it never really picked up. So, my co-founder then looked in a different domain altogether once we got stuck with it. And I was left with this sort of product that I built. I thought it was like it had something, at least for some people in the publishing industry. Maybe
Yeah.
publishers weren't the right fit at that point. So I thought, okay, I'll try to pivot this to authors because it had a lot of the marketing elements that authors usually get stuck with once they finish writing their book. So I thought, okay, let's try to offer it with some authors for free, get their feedback, try to see if I have something here for authors. And that's how we've been building ever since, like two
Wow.
and a half years ago, iterating with authors and building, adding more to our initial report and building more reports as well.
I'm so fascinated because yeah, I mean, having worked in the book industry for a long time, that's a major pain point, right? Publishers get thousands of submissions, and then I mean that's usually an intern position or a starting position for the publishers is you become an intern and you have to
Yep,
read the slush pile, and then you say, okay, of the 100 manuscripts I read this week, here are the
yep,
five you should look at. And then the agent or the editor looks at those five or whatever it is. So it was like that could save a lot of time because I know like the processing right now it's usually within 10 minutes I get a
yep.
report back. So you feed it in and you're like, look, based on the summary, no. Based on the summary, yeah. So anyway, I mean, somebody still has to preview them, but previewing a 25-page report as opposed to a full manuscript could actually say, these are the ones I'm going to read. Anyways, wow, but like a lot of technology, publishers seem to be technology averse. I remember, I mean, they still haven't embraced ebooks. And they've been around for, 12,
Yeah,
15 years, or no, 15, more than 15 years now. And they still haven't embraced ebooks, which is great for indie authors because indie authors still have that. But anyways,
yeah.
I'm so glad that you pivoted and provided this for authors because for two reasons. I just ran a manuscript report for a book of mine that I published in 2014. A backlist title. I'm like, it's a techno thriller, and I was like, oh, yeah, it is a techno thriller, but it was manuscript report that helped me realize, oh, I thought it was just a thriller, but no, based on the content, it's a techno thriller. But taking this book that's been there for a while and saying, hey, I want to revise my marketing copy, and I want to just see what it spits out and give me some. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. So for authors, Manuscript Report, let's break it down into what it offers, like in terms of the various marketing tools or not tools, marketing strategy. I'm not
Reports.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, they can be tools, they can be strategies, they can be assets, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call them. So, our most popular report, we have four reports that we create. Our
Four
most
different
popular
reports.
one, yes, our most popular one is the one that you just talked about, which we call the marketing report.
Yeah.
It contains 15, let's say, assets, marketing assets that we create based on the book. We analyze the book and we create these 15 assets that all the authors need to market their book. And usually for any author that is not doesn't have an experience with marketing, this is going to be a kind of a steep learning curve to learn. So we create this in 10 to 15 minutes. They have all this information, and we also add everything that they need to use it. So of those 15 assets, we have things like a back of the book summary, a synopsis, genres. We have detailed target audience, which breaks down their target audience into segments, as well as telling them where they can find them on social media, which social media channels, which communities to find them, and so on. We have 10 comparative titles. We have KDP categories. We have a press release. We have ad copy, and it just goes on. So yeah, we have these assets in that marketing report, and we also added, with the help of your suggestions over the last 6 months, we added some primers for all of these sections so that authors, we also tell authors, like, for each of these assets, where and how you could use it, with examples, with suggestions to what you can change on it to use it in a different way, for example.
Right.
And we also added a section with other marketing resources that is not Manuscript Report. So for other purpose marketing, here's what you can use. And we also add now a marketing plan. So, it's a four-phase marketing plan. So depending where you are as an author in your marketing journey, you can step in right into one of these phases, from very easy on publishing your book on KDP to trying out social media ads and how we should do that.
Wow. I want to go back to Manuscript Report for a second. Then I do want to drill into these other tools that I'm not as familiar with because I haven't played
Okay.
with them as much. I played with some of them. But even in the Manuscript Report, there's something that I've leveraged. There's a couple things. There's a breakdown of the genre. It gives you a pie chart and it shows you the percentage of different genres so you can see, and you use that in your target audiences, right? Because it could appeal to this people who like this and this, or people who like this and the other thing. But then the other thing that a lot of people use on social media are what they call, I think they call them the trope maps, where you have a picture of the book
Mhm.
and you have the little squiggly arrows and you have the different tropes and themes. And that's really important because, I mean, yes, I wrote the book, but it's like, oh, I didn't even think of this as a theme. I didn't even think that this as a trope. And I find that that can be really a really valuable tool for authors if they're not sure what to share. Because you can go to BookBrush, for example, and get the template and stick your book cover in and change the text. I mean, I was like, whoa, that blew my mind because you see a lot of that on some of the socials for books.
Yeah, so this is actually one of the feedback that we get most commonly. Authors saying that they discover new things about the books that they, spent months or years writing. So just like you said in the beginning, they discovered a different genre that they weren't aware that they were writing in. They discovered new themes, new tropes. And also, just because the AI is an objective tool, you also get like new angles from which you can market it. You get new target audience that you didn't know you can appeal to. And you've been doing this for months and years, and you're kind of stuck in some of the ideas you had maybe in the beginning months ago, and you don't realize it.
Yeah.
So this is one of the most common feedback that we get: people discovering, writers discovering more things about the book that they wrote.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even I've played with it, and I've some of my patrons, I've run reports for them to help them out, as well as some friends, some publishers I've connected you with, saying, and I
Yeah.
even ran one on one of my traditionally published books that came out 13 years ago, and I just wanted to get some marketing stuff because it's coming back. It's been picked for a community reads, and I was like, hey, I should run this and coordinate that with the publicist over at the publisher to say, are you guys able to use this? Because I don't know, I just find it valuable. But you have additional assets, right? So some social media, very social media specific stuff as well.
Yes. So we did end up seeing that authors need more than this report. This is great for the initial marketing phase, but then some authors want to do more. So we have other types of reports to cover those a bit more complex phases of marketing. So a second most popular report that we have is the social media content/ads report. What we do there is, again, we use some of the information that we create for the initial marketing report, such as blurbs, ad copy, target audience, genres, and so on. And then based on this, we have 10 marketing angles that we know they work for books. And from these 10 marketing angles, we create social media posts with hashtags and with everything you need. They are SEO optimized, and we also create images for those posts. And those images usually are created based on the most engaging scenes of your book. And we also try to make them in such ways that they can stop someone from scrolling. So, we use all these kind of social media best practices when we create those images, things like, popping colors or, putting together objects that may not be put together in a regular way, so that we capture the attention of people seeing them on social media.
Wow. I guess I should get into, because people are probably wondering, okay, what does it cost to use Manuscript Report? What does it cost to use the social media? But before we get into that, what are some of the other tools?
Yeah.
You said those are
Okay.
the first two most popular ones, right?
Yeah, yeah, and then we also have a blog series report. So basically, again, we process the book, and then we repurpose it in a series of 6 to 10 long form articles that you can publish on Substack or your newsletter, or you can even create other social media posts from that. We usually try to mimic the voice of the author from the book into these long form articles, but we try to also make it a bit more engaging so that it entices readers to go through the whole book. And then our fourth report is a book Bible. This is very useful for fiction authors, especially to be able to. This is a very comprehensive report where they can track everything that's going on in the book. So their characters, all the physical descriptions of those characters, all the relationships between the characters, the timelines, the plots. Yeah, this is a very good tool to use when you're writing a series. So you can go back and see exactly how you started a few books ago, or if you want to retrieve information quickly from your book. And we've seen some authors use it to validate that, maybe they didn't forget some sort of weird physical descriptions that they
Right.
put in months ago. So yeah, and regarding the prices, every single report it costs between $25 to $60. The social media report is the one that is costing $60 because for that we still have to manually go through everything that we create because let's say that images aren't yet at a state where we can just ship them without having a manual
Right. Some
having
human
someone
intervention.
manually,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
exactly, human intervention, or
Right.
you're gonna get 20 images in the report. On the back end, we might generate 40 images to select the best one from
So you're
those.
picking the best. And so
Yes,
just to confirm, you're speaking US dollars, right? Like neither one of us is in the
yes,
US, but you're speaking US dollars. Okay, cool.
yes. I'm
Just
sorry. Yes.
just for the audience. Okay. And then I guess the question I had is, because I mean I'm a huge fan and advocate for Manuscript Report, and I love it. I'm eventually going to run all my books through there. And what I'm looking at is, okay, so I have the Manuscript Report, and now I want to do the next phase. Is that if I've already run something like Manuscript Report, is there a way to go, oh, can I now have this report too? Or is that like sort of a separate entry for same manuscript, but you got to load it separately? Because you're not actually storing anything locally, right?
Yeah. So just to make sure I got your question right. So first of all, yes, we use AI to create all of this. But we use it in a way that, first of all, we never train. No AI is ever trained on the books that we process,
Yeah.
and we delete everything within 30 days from processing. So
Right.
first of all, the authors are still gonna own their book. They're also gonna own all the outputs that they get from us. And within 30 days, every trace of our processing of their manuscript is deleted from the internet, from our servers, from any
Right.
third-party tool that we use. So that's one thing. Secondly, if you do go to their website and you get one report, of course, you can go back later and get the second or the third report in whatever order you wish or want or combination you wish to
Okay,
get
so
them in.
where's the main website then? Because I think I might have been using like manuscriptreport.com
Yeah,
and
that's the main website,
yeah.
manuscriptreport.com. You go to the get report section,
Yeah.
and then you'll end up seeing all our four reports. The main one is the marketing report that we first discussed.
Ah,
And then you can check, okay, I also want the blog series, I also want the social media,
Right.
report and I also want the book Bible,
So
or
you
you
can do
can
them all at
deselect.
once. But if I load today, let's say today I run just the manuscript report because I want to get the basic thing, and then tomorrow I want the other one. Do I just go? Do I log back in? I'm just, how does the
Yeah,
logistics work?
you just go back to manuscript report, get report, deselect the marketing report that you got yesterday, and select whatever you want to get today, and it's gonna
Okay.
work the same way. In the same way, yeah.
Is there I know I have an affiliate code that can save people $5 off of the cost. Is there a bulk discount if an author orders like a bunch of reports at once? Or like let's say I want the manuscript report and I want the Bible. But speaking of Bible, like I'm always curious as someone who's written a series, like do I load them all and I get a Bible that includes all of them, or how does that work? Is it just Bible per book?
No, I mean all the reports are sort of optimized to work for one book. If
Okay.
you give them, I mean, we had people doing a whole series, sending us a whole series, and we sort of approached the limit of 1 million words in a
Okay.
PDF that we processed. I mean, up to that point, it really depends exactly. I mean, you should know exactly what you want to do with the report. Because if you want to, for example, advertise your whole series at once, maybe that will work, just doing everything through
Yeah.
Manuscript Report. But we don't really optimize for this, and we optimize to do a per book analysis. So if you want
Right.
a book Bible, it would be much better to just submit. I mean, if you want a book Bible or any report, it's much better to just submit one book at a time.
Right. Okay. All right.
And
Wow.
then to answer your previous question, yes, we can also do discounts if authors are looking to get multiple reports on multiple books, or they have recurrent needs. Some we also work with like I said, with publishers and author services teams that have recurring needs. So we can talk about discounts in those cases. Yes.
Yeah, no, I love that. And people just reach out to you to find out more about that then.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, they should. I mean, I respond, I look, I read all the emails that we get from the contact form on our website. And yes, I'm very excited to talk to authors.
Awesome. Well, silly question. I never asked this before. My affiliate code works for Manuscript Report, but does it work for the other reports as well?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes,
So someone could save
yes,
$5 on the other report then as well.
yes,
I
yeah.
didn't know that, and I never asked because again, I've never
Okay.
really played with them much. I just did some. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to use this one as much. I'll just go back to the basic report. So that's cool.
I mean, we did change our platform quite a bit since we started working together. So it's
Yeah.
also my fault maybe that I didn't communicate that with you.
Well,
So yeah,
I'm also a scatterbrain and I'm all over the place. So you might have mentioned things and I didn't catch them along the way, but that is fantastic. And it seems like you're constantly iterating and adding things because I don't remember the Story Bible. That might be a more recent addition. Is that true?
yes, in the latest edition that we put in there, we actually a, we partnered with the Facebook community of authors, and it seems like there were multiple questions on if we could do this or not, or if the marketing report board
Yeah.
could help authors with this.
Yeah.
So we thought about it, and it does work, and we did it. And the book Bible is the cheapest report that we offer at $25.
Oh wow, cool, cool. That's really amazing. So, I guess well, I was gonna say, and you probably have plans to continue to grow and expand, and that's probably based on user feedback, right?
Yes, definitely. I mean, whenever we get new authors trying out the service, I always reach out to them a day or two after they submit their report, and I ask for any thoughts, feedback, or suggestions that they might have. So, we're very happy to look at all the feedback that comes in, and we're actually, I mean, we're iterating on all the feedback that we get. So we're actually trying to improve the product through feedback.
Well, I know, and it's funny because when I even look at the improvements you've made since I first started using Manuscript Report to the one I got just this morning as well, it's kind of like, okay, this is cool. This is growing. I mean, there's more and more details and more robust information. I mean, one of the functionalities I love, absolutely adore, and I think it's so important for authors because we can never don't often see this is the comparable titles and authors. And it's so funny. Like I look at titles and go, "Oh my God, I love that I love that guy, that girl, that book that they wrote. I didn't realize that there was some similarities between my book and their amazing book as well. So that kind of blew my mind. It was like, never would have thought of this. So it helps you find those comparable titles. And what I love about it is it talks about the similarities between your book and this book, but also the differences, like what makes it similar, like what themes or tropes or whatever elements in it are similar, but what makes it different and unique is also, it's kind of like you go back to the old, it's Die Hard on a bus, right? Like it's like Die Hard, but it's on
Yeah,
a bus, like that kind of stuff, right? So it really
it,
helps
it,
dumb it down, which I mean, in a lot of cases, the problem we have as authors is so many things going on, so many characters and complications. You kind of have to dumb it down when you go to the elevator pitch. Right. Not that the audience is dumb, but just it's easier to comprehend Die Hard on a bus than it is to get into the specifics, right?
yeah, exactly. So besides, that's why also through iteration we added a sort of a second comparative titles section. So the one that you were saying, we're providing 10 titles, there's similarity and the differences with those titles. But then we added a second section where we try to place your book at the intersection of bestsellers or very good movies. So
Yeah.
this is working very well. I found with ads, for example. So
Yeah.
if you have your book placed at the intersection of two bestsellers or two very good movies, you can sort of reach out to the that audience of those movies and
Yeah.
say, if you liked this, you're definitely gonna love this. Except it's like you
Yeah.
said,
Well,
is
like I
this on the
said,
bus?
from one of your reports from my novel, A Canadian Werewolf in New York, one of the log lines that I've been using that I got from that part of the report was the Dresden Files meets The Hangover. I was like, whoa, never would have thought of that. I have had readers compare, the wit and the sardonic nature of my main character to Dresden, Harry Dresden from Jim Butcher's series, which is like a great honor to be compared to Jim Butcher in any way. But then to compare it to The Hangover, which again really fits the way the novel opens, and he wakes up and has no memory of the night before except he wasn't drunk, he was a wolf. So like I just look at it and went, oh my God, this is genius, I never would have thought of this. So, and that's been a great logline because when I'm at in-person events as well, is like, well, it's kind of like the Dresden Files meets The Hangover, and when they recognize that, they're like, yep, this is my cup of tea. So that's a really powerful marketing tool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we also we ran some case studies with this. One author, she ran, I think, 10 to 15 of her books through our through Manuscript Report, and she used to be a copywriter, and that was an interesting comparison because she was doing Facebook ads, and she did A/B testing with her old ads and using the copy from Manuscript Report, and we got some interesting results. I mean, this is getting more technical, but her cost per click went to 50%. So she was paying half of what she used to pay for ads.
Wow.
And at the same time, she got a boost in sales by 60%. So overall, it's a 3.2 times increase in her money spent in
Wow.
the how efficient she spends her money. So yeah, I mean, obviously it depends a lot case by case. So, but this is one case study where we could actually compare. Yeah, so
Wow, that's
it
amazing.
works. Yeah.
Now, before we began recording the interview, we talked about you potentially doing a bit of a share or a demo to show us
Okay.
a little bit of
Yeah.
that. And again, this will be for those who are looking at this on YouTube as well. So if you're audio listening to this, Florin's going to try to describe what's going on, but we will have the link to where you can find the video, or I'll even include screenshots at
Okay.
starkreflections.ca. So
Oh, I'm sharing my screen now. Can
yeah,
you see it?
yeah.
Mark? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is what a marketing report would
I've
look
heard of
like.
this Oscar Wilde fellow.
Yeah. Yeah. He wrote a few. So, uh, yeah, this is a report on the picture of Dorian Gray. Just going through the content so you can see
Yeah.
everything that's going to be in the report. We get a summary, a synopsis, genres, themes, book tropes, KDP categories, target audience, sales pitches by audience, keywords. the comparison titles, another comparison section with the narrative crossroads we just talked about, a sales copy, a press release, section with other marketing resources, and a marketing plan for your book. So,
Yeah.
as an example, this report is 38 pages long, and you
Wow.
don't have to go through all of it. You can just click in the table of contents to whatever section you're interested in. This may
Hmm.
be a lot for you to digest the first time. So what we're suggesting is, this is like your Swiss Army knife for marketing. You can just, yeah, you can use this section individually. You can drop a sales page into a newsletter, or you can put more of these sections together. But yeah, so for example, if I go to the summary, the back of the book summary section, you'll have your 3 paragraphs summary, and then you also get a primer at the beginning of this section with a few instructions on how or where you could actually use this section, and with some suggestions. Like, for example, if you add a call to action at the end, you can use this in a I don't know, press release or somewhere else. And yeah, it just goes on for every single section. We have a primer. This is the genre pie chart you were mentioning earlier. The theme section, we usually aim at providing 3 to 5 themes, book tropes, the KDP categories. And then as an example, what we usually suggest in the primer here is that, every quarter you try to switch one of the categories with another, so you can see if there's a better fit there or not. The target audience, again, with what I said, with all the details of demographics, lifestyle, why they're reading, where you can find them, Instagram aesthetics account, for example. Yeah, and so on. Sales pitches, these are great as blurbs, sales pitches for each segment audience. Keywords, you get a lot of keywords in here that you can use. The comp titles, where you get the book title, the similarity and the differences, and you get 10 of these. And then the narrative crossroads, I was saying that, Foss meets the secret history, for example. And yeah, the sales copy, the press release, and then the marketing resources, where you other marketing tools that you can use, and
Yeah.
then the marketing roadmap with the 4 phases.
Oh, wow, the marketing roadmap. Oh, is
Yes.
that included because the person selected the marketing roadmap as well, or is that something I didn't
No,
even
this
notice?
is included in all the marketing reports.
Ah. Oh, I see. Just the things to do. Here are the things.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So it's kind of like, oh, it's more like a bit of a guideline to help authors who don't know where to start.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. Love that.
And then do I have time to also go quickly through the
Yeah.
social media report?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's take a look at let's see, because I haven't played with it in a while, so I'm sure it's improved
Yeah.
significantly.
Okay. So yes. So, similar layout, but then
Yeah.
instead of general marketing assets, you get specific social media posts. And you get, like I said before, you get the post from 10 marketing angles. You'll see the marketing angle here. So, in this case, it's a POV from the character's perspective.
Right.
You get a post, you get hashtags, and then you
Oh, and
you get an
that's a
image.
great image for the picture of Dorian Gray. Yeah.
And again, it's another angle, emotional hook, another post, another image, and it goes on. We usually offer 20 of these in a report.
Okay. And I think initially it used to come in a spreadsheet, right? But now it's a PDF, right?
Yes, it used to come in a spreadsheet, but we improved a lot since then. I mean, the reason why it was in a spreadsheet is because the image generation wasn't quite there yet, so we would offer people more images than
Yeah.
they could. So, we would say something like, okay, you get 30 images here. Not all of them are going to be a great fit, but
Yeah.
have a look and swift through them and decide which one you like better. And
Oh,
this
the
is a
one
much
line
more,
premise. Oh, I love this.
yeah. And, you're having it in a PDF is much more easier and
Yeah.
friendly to look at and read through.
Right. Well, I'm gonna have to play with that again now.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Oh, that's great. Actually, I love that new format. That is fantastic.
And we try not to repeat the images. So if we do some darker images with the character looking into a mirror, we try not to create
Yeah,
five that are in the same way. So this actually took a lot of the work to try to create diversity, so authors can choose exactly what is best for their voice.
right. Yeah. Cool. I
Okay,
love
I'll
that.
I'll stop sharing that.
No, no, thank you for sharing that. I'm so glad that you showed it to me, and people can actually see what a report looks like. For a well-known book, so people kind of like, even if they haven't read it, they know a little bit about it, so it gives
Yeah,
them a context as well, right? So that is
yeah,
fantastic. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing this. Now, can you just remind listeners where they can find your great suite of tools
yeah.
and
Just
yeah.
just just go to manuscriptreports.com, everything in one word, and you'll find everything you need there. We have worked with more than 1,000 authors so far. We're currently working with smaller publishers and other services teams as well. We have a lot of testimonials on the website. We also have the case studies that we've done. And I think we have quite a bit of information about all of these reports in there as well. And if you're not finding the responses to whatever questions you might have, just please go to the contact form and I'll definitely reply to you as quick as possible.
Awesome. And of course, a reminder that if you use affiliate code MARK5, MARK, then number five, you can get $5 off the reports. Florin, thank you so much for spending the time with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation, Mark. It was really great catching up.
So this is a longer episode, and I'm not going to reflect too long on this, but I just want to reflect in general on a tool like Manuscript Report and the incredible time saving that it is. And the other thing too, the time saving is incredible. I'll try and stay on track for the other reflection I want to add in, but it's so fascinating that we have tools now where it can digest and consume a manuscript and provide us with some materials that we can't even see. Some of the themes, some of the tropes, some of the elements. It's such a big book, right? You lose track. Oh yeah, there's also this thing or this underlying theme that it caught that I forgot to mention when I was talking about the book. That's been so valuable to me, and I'm so excited to share it with authors. When I was sharing this the other night, I did a talk for a local authors group I'm a member of. I'm a member of the Cambridge Authors Group, Kitchener, Cambridge, and Waterloo area. It's a tri-city area here in southeastern Ontario, or southwestern Ontario, I should say, and so I talked about Draft Digital. That was the main topic. I just wanted to show people, like, hey, these free tools you can use, all kinds of different tools. Even if you don't use them for distribution, here's some stuff you should know about that you might be able to benefit from. And that was really cool. But then, since I had my laptop and a projector, I showed them, hey, Manuscript Report. Here's, because we were talking about target audiences. I'm like, well, here's a great way to find your target audience. And as I was showing this to the authors, they were like, oh my God, I don't know what to put for this, or how do I come up with social media posts based on the content from my books and all this stuff. So it was really great to see so many different authors in that room react the way I reacted. Like, yeah, yay, this is a really cool thing. But the other thing, and I'd mentioned that this is that other reflection that just occurred to me, is when you're having a bad day and you're feeling really crappy about yourself and you get a 1-star review, it never hurts to go back and read the Manuscript Report, because it will often pull out some really cool things about your writing that are going to be generally positive and useful to remind you that you're not a washed up hack, which is often how I feel when I see a 1-star review. Oh, I'm a loser. I'm a hack. I don't know what I'm doing. So I know it's funny, but yeah, there's nothing like the support of a friend But sometimes when you don't have that opportunity for someone to say, no, Mark, I believe in you, you can do something like this. And sometimes those tools can actually prop you up when you need to be propped up. But as you know, since I have had Manuscript Report as a sponsor for the episodes, one of the reasons is because I believe in it so much and I love it. But I did want to also share post-reflection, post-interview, is that we heard from Florin in the interview about the pricing structure. Now, they've simplified the reports. They've based this on user feedback, and it's just kind of make it easier for authors to get what they're looking for. Because Florin had said some authors didn't want all the things. They just wanted the basics, right? So they now have 3 tiers with different options and pricing. So here's the breakdown for you. So the Manuscript Essentials is listed at $40 US. It's called Launch Ready Metadata tailored from your manuscript. And so you get a back cover blurb, you get genres, you get keywords, you get 5 comparable titles and analysis, and you get custom guidelines. And that's for $40. That's kind of like the basics. And the next tier is the full marketing report, which is listed at $99 US, but they currently have it slashed and at $69 US. And from what I've seen in Manuscript Report, usually that $69 is probably the price. Yeah, they could go up to $99, but it's good to take advantage of that. So with that, you get 20 marketing assets. So you get everything in the Essentials package, plus you get 10 comparable titles and analysis. You get audience personas analysis. You get the book positioning, the X meets Y. You get KDP categories. You get a synopsis. You get a marketing plan, a 4-phase marketing plan. Very high level, of course. You get the reader magnet ideas, which are new. You get the blog series outline, which is new. You get ad copy variations. You get themes and tropes. You get sales pitches. And you get a press release template. And that's the one closer to what I've been doing. This is new. They've got some things in there I haven't gotten from the reports I get. But that's the one. That's the big one. That's the most popular one. And then at the very high level, this gets into more of the social media blog assets. This is called the Complete Author Toolkit. So it's listed at $256 US, but they have it slashed and they have it for $149 US. And so you get everything in the full marketing report. Plus, you get a social media package of 20 social media posts with scroll stopping images. You get a blog series package. You get 6 to 10 ready to publish long form posts. And you get the book Bible for tracking all the details of your story. And just a reminder that my code MARK5 is still active for getting $5 off, which is probably useful, best useful on the Manuscript Essentials. But if you're going for the full marketing report or the Complete Author Toolkit, you'll want to use MARK10, M-A-R-K 10, and that will save you 10%. Because I'm not good at math, but 10% of 40 is 4. And 10% of 69 is $6.90, and 10% of $149 is $14.90. And I did that all in my head without taking off my socks or my shoes. Are you not impressed with me? Heck, I'm impressed with myself. But that is it for this reflection. That is it for this episode. Thanks so much for listening. If you found this episode valuable, please share it with someone that you think would find value in it. That's a great way of that whole sharing is caring, because it helps us all in so many different ways. But you being here helps me. So thank you so much for listening to the Stark Reflections podcast. Until next week, and until next episode, this is Mark Leslie Lefebvre wishing you great writing and good Stark Reflections.
Thank you for listening to the Stark Reflections podcast. You can find show notes for each episode at starkreflections.ca.
The music for this podcast, Laser Groove, was composed and produced by Kevin MacLeod. Check out more of Kevin's great music at incomptech.com.